Welcome back to BadgerBlitz TV, your Rivals.com destination for all things Wisconsin athletics. From on the field at Camp Randall Stadium to inside the Kohl Center to on the recruiting trail, I'm Matt Perkins, joined as always by Rivals.com national recruiting analyst Clint Cosgrove. Clint, best time of the week as always.
As always, thanks for having me, buddy.
Dude, I mean, it wouldn't be it wouldn't be a proper show without you. So we're gonna get right into
Well,
it, man. Like, I just want to get into some of these kids we've been texting and talking about because we're getting into some 24s and mostly 25s now because I think it's time that the 23s have pretty much not come and gone, but there's very little wiggle room left in for most of the kids in the 23s, and we want to look ahead to some of the guys that you need to get in on now if you're a program like Wisconsin before they really blow up. So we got one kid from 2024. Before we get into a bunch of sophomores, we saw one last week, Cooper Catalano, who could be a real impact player down the road. We've got a couple more of those 2025 kids that we really need to get in on now. But the first kid I want to talk about with you is a guy that you just brought up to me, Brauntae Johnson out of Fort Wayne, Indiana. Clint, I think you described him to me as a giraffe who's currently growing into his body. And I think that is a giant compliment because this kid, you can see he, like, just when he's running, he's one of those kids that looks like he's running slow. And then he's just going by everyone because his gait is that long, like he's a giraffe. And
yeah,
it's incredible. I was blown away. Like, it took me a second to when I was like watching his film and to just realize how spectacular his athleticism really is.
yeah. He's like a long strider. He covers so much ground, so you don't realize how fast he is. I remember, trying to tell people he was fast, and they're like, "Well, And I was like, just watch like the opening kickoff of his sophomore year highlights. Like the cameraman, well, often doesn't keep up with him, but can't keep up with him on it. And he's just a heck of a player. Oh, here it is right here. Here's Tate to the house. So Brauntae, he goes by Tate, heck of a basketball player. He's been a standout since his freshman year. He's out of Fort Wayne, so you'll see him here at safety. This is a sophomore clip. Come across the field and just waylay a kid. He's got so much upside. Now, most teams are recruiting him as a receiver. The one team that's recruiting him as a defensive back, as a safety, is Notre Dame. They've had him in camp a bunch. He's probably in Notre Dame lean right now, but his recruitment has been interesting because he's kind of, I wouldn't say under the radar because every service has him rated pretty high. We have him rated high. I've seen him in person. He's a heck of a player. But like his offer list just didn't match it. Recently he's picked up some SECs with Auburn and such. But I mean, this kid is a player, and he's from the Midwest. And has Wisconsin offered him yet? Do you know?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay, I'm not 100% sure. They may have, but this is a kid. If he doesn't decide to stay in state and go to Notre Dame, that he's a perfect fit for Wisconsin. I think he can play safety,
Clint, I
obviously.
will rescind that. Wisconsin has offered him.
Okay, big time. There we go. I thought they had. I'm not sure how recent that is, but this is a kid in their backyard. Back in the day when Wisconsin was rolling, they did a good job. In Indiana, and I think this is a guy who Wisconsin should definitely be on early. He is long. He's got great range. He's a heck of a receiver. He's a heck of a safety. He's just physical kid. He's so raw. He's growing into his body, but he's just so capable already. So when you look at him, he already, he's already a playmaker. He already has the ability. But then you think about his ceiling because he is just growing into his body. Like he's going to be big time. This is a guy at safety who could end up being like 6'4", 220 pounds, and is going to run like a skill kid. So I just think he has so much upside. I really like him as a kid. He's kind of soft spoken, but he carries a big stick on the field and he lays the wood. So we have him listed as an athlete. Most have him listed as a receiver because I do think his highest upside is at safety, but he's obviously a high end receiver as well. The thing you like about that is he can be a team take and he can go on either side of the ball. Plus, he's going to be a heck of a special teams player at the next level. But there's no excuse to not go all in on him. And, at least shoot your shot. He's a Midwest kid, and I have a feeling that he'll stay in the Midwest.
My question is, Why do you think he will be a better safety than a wide receiver? Why do you think his, I guess I should say, why is his upside the highest at safety as opposed to receiver?
Just his frame and his ability to see the field and his overall range, and then he's a physical kid. And he's a physical kid at being maybe 185 pounds right now when he's got the frame to be that 220-pound kid. So when you look at receivers, receivers outside of the elite are kind of a dime a dozen. There's a lot of guys that are, I'm not going to say as good as him or better than him, but maybe in his wheelhouse. I think as a safety, he could be a special player, all American type. He's similar to, I want to say like Antonio Johnson from East St. Louis, who's an All American down at Texas A&M right now, who will be an early round draft pick next year. And that's why I like him as a safety. And Notre Dame has had him in camp as a safety and offered him as a safety as well. We know how Notre Dame safeties usually fare, and I'm going to side with Notre Dame on this one. I saw him play safety at a 7-on-7 this summer and was really impressed with them as well. So that's just my take. He can be a star on either side of the ball, though.
Well, speaking of safeties and Antonio Johnson, Sael Reyes is the next guy we're going to talk about, and that's his little brother out of
I
East
know.
St. Louis. And
I didn't even think of it when I was saying it. That's so funny.
well, which is perfect. Also, there's also a Wisconsin connection there because Keontae Lewis, the Wisconsin wide receiver who just transferred from UCLA, is a good friend of their families, I know. And so
Yep.
Reyes is a really interesting kid. He's a little bit more raw as an athlete to me. He seems to just be like sort of like coming into the game on his own. But I mean, he's again another kid who just like oozes that raw athleticism.
Yeah, so he is a big kid. He's got a big frame. He's probably 6'1" right now. He may only be 185, 190 pounds, but he looks like a 200 pounder. He is your guy who's going to be, he can be a box safety, but he can run as well. So the running part is kind of funny because we've had him in our camps a lot, and he's been a stud. He got invited to our 5-star underclassmen showcase, and he was at Texas A&M's camp right before then. You see him; he's just a great tackler in space. He comes downhill right there, comes to balance, makes a play in space, and he does it when he's coming at full speed. And you love that. You don't see that a lot from kids his age. Coming across the field right there, making the tackle. He's all over the place. I was at this game. You'll see him on an interception here. And I talk about the speed. I don't know if this is the play, but it should be coming up. But I talk about the speed that he has. And, he's very unassuming with his speed because in the past, I was like, this is a great player. What is his top end speed? I think this might be the interception right here. And this really opened my eyes to it because when I was at the game, I was like, oh my God, he's rolling. And there was a number of times during this game where I just saw him, come across the field and, you see, that's against St. Francis. There's 15 SEC type players on that team. So Sael's got a big time future. He's got big time upside. He just debuted in our top 100. He's just scratching the surface of what he is. I love his versatility. He can be a box, the type that you roll into the box. He can come off the edge. He plays like his hair's on fire. He's a great kid. Obviously, comes from a family of ballers and plays for a great program in East St. Louis. So the Keontae Lewis connection is huge. I think you can use that as a way to get him up on campus. I know he's interested in Wisconsin because of that connection. And like you said, Antonio, his brother, and Keontae are good friends. They were in the same class at East St. Louis, came up together. They used to go to camps together. And, that whole group is pretty tight knit. So definitely a guy you want to shoot the shot on. Wisconsin, I don't believe, has offered. He may have made it up to campus, but Wisconsin is a team that is on his list, on his rivals profile, I know.
Yeah, he doesn't have an offer just yet. One kid, though, that we are going to talk that does have an offer is Christian Jones out of Omaha, Nebraska, West Side, listed about 6'3", 210. But he just, the immediate comp for me is Nick Herbig. This kid is destructive off of the edge. He is fast and he's violent, and that's what really stands out to me when I see him.
Yeah, no question. So the thing that really, at this age, to be his size, we had him in our rivals camp as well. But, you put on the film, and like you said, he's a physical guy. He's a technician already at this age. For a kid who has his size and is as young as he is, to have the body control that he does, you see him play in space, his lateral movement, shedding blocks. He's explosive in confined space. He can come off the edge. Look at him there. I mean, like, I feel bad. That's a rollout pass. Like, that's an easy block for the running back. All they got to do is shoot for the inside shoulder and keep him outside, and the kid just destroys him and sacks the quarterback. So we see a lot of him coming off the edge there. He is going to be a guy who can rush the passer. He's going to have the frame to hold the edge, but then you see him go there and drop in space as well. So he is, I think you made a great comp with him. He's what you see in the NFL with those big outside linebackers that can play. And I don't want to even say limited zone coverage. He can play zone coverage. He can carry the tight end up the seam. And then he can also do the stuff inside the box and on the edge that you'd like to see. I think he can play anything from probably defensive end to middle linebacker. And there's a whole lot to like here. He's a throwback player, obviously playing in Nebraska. He's an old school Nebraska player, a Wisconsin type. He's he reminds you of a big time Big Ten linebacker. I think as he grows and develops and, gets more exposure and gets to camps, he's going to end up having SEC offers and all of that. So it's hard to forget that these guys are 2025s when you watch them. He's actually one of those guys. He's bigger than he looks like he is on film. He's got a lot of length, great frame, runs well. I can't say enough about him. And I think he's a guy that Wisconsin, obviously, they threw their hat in the ring early and with good reason.
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely see why you can. I mean, especially in the Wisconsin 3-4. I mean, you can see how he fits, like a glove. Like it's made for him. This is the kind of recruit that they get on early. They thought they had that with Tackett Curtis, who ended up at USC, the kid from Louisiana. This is another kid you got to get in on early, and they are in on early, and it's the glamour position in the Wisconsin defense, and so you can really swing. You can swing big for those kinds of kids in that scheme, seeing how productive they are and how highly they've been drafted. How many guys are going to the NFL from the Wisconsin linebacking core?
Yeah, and he just, he's a great kid too. I mean, as far as a culture fit, like I think he'd be perfect for Wisconsin. So
yeah. Well, one last guy that we know definitely has interest in Wisconsin. He's got an offer. I think would definitely be a good culture fit. Gabe Kaminski. I mean, first of all, the name.
Last name alone.
The last name alone. No relation, but or at least that I'm aware of.
He could be. I mean, they're both from Illinois.
Yeah, I mean that's true. But there's as someone who's married into a Polish family from Illinois, there are a lot of Kaminskis around. So I can fairly say that. But my goodness, I mean, Gabe Kaminski, even just going from like his freshman to sophomore film, he looked good as a freshman. He looked really good as a freshman. Yep. Like they got his first 4 game film up there that we're gonna watch here in a minute. Holy moly! This kid is ridiculous. He's ridiculous. Yeah. Like the way he moves at listed 6'3", 215. He's 6'4", easy by now.
Yeah,
right?
He's bigger than that.
Yeah, he's definitely bigger than that.
I have to go to a game, but he's.
Yeah, and he's got the combination of size and strength and quickness that is just, makes defensive coaches drool.
Oh yeah, I mean he's a technician. Like the way you say, he just naturally plays with bend. He's very great laterally. He can shed blocks. He can already go speed to power. He's extremely athletic. He can bend off the edge. I mean, so when we were doing our top 100 for 2025, he was a guy who was a must-have in it for me. And we had him really high. I mean, we still do have him high, but he's an absolute terror. And most of my evaluation was based off of his freshman year. I'd only seen a couple of clips of the sophomore season. And then when I did a deeper dive into his sophomore film, I'm like, holy smokes, he's already better than I thought he'd be as a senior. I mean, just look at the natural bend right there, the ball get off. He sheds that blocker. He just freaking tosses him to the side. But really the thing to stick out is just his motor, his bend, his explosiveness off the ball, his first step, his ability to play with his hands. He can do a little bit of everything. I mean, look at that. I mean, that's a seasoned vet right there. Moves laterally. He's got the outside responsibility, keeps the back inside on him, and then is able to fold in and make the tackle. I mean, you see him do it over and over. His block destruction right there. I think they were trying to double team him. And there's just literally nothing that he can't do already as a sophomore. this guy's a terror. When you talk about positional value, you see him, line up inside right there. I mean, he's a guy who might end up being 270 pounds in high school. But look at, he can come off this, stand up. I love that right there. He read the block, came to balance, and then saw that his responsibility was done up front, and then, transitioned into hitting the quarterback and punishing him. Played with great control while playing fast. And just as a young kid, you don't see it often. And, like I said, his development, he was good as a freshman. Iowa offered him very early in his freshman year. And, a few schools followed suit. But once this film gets out, because this film is relatively new that they just put out, he's going to blow up. I think he'll be one of the top recruited kids in his class. He does have a very Big Ten feel to him. Illinois kid, last name Kaminski, defensive end. But I think this could end up being a national recruitment. And, a lot of the Nazareth kids, they're willing to go wherever. I mean, JJ McCarthy's from there. He went down to IMG and then is at Michigan. Julian Love went to Notre Dame, playing in the NFL now. Those are all, Nazareth Academy kids. So they go a little bit everywhere.
And Kaminski's already got a Tennessee offer. I mean, it's not like he's lacking for national offers already. So, I mean, it's definitely going to be a big boy fight.
Oh, yeah, no question. But, Wisconsin, in it early and, regionally. And I think this is a guy that could have a chance at it. When you talk about, you sell the JJ Watt and, the Watt family. But he's in that mold. He really is. And I think, like I said, and you said it too, freshman to sophomore, the development is insane. And you already knew he was good as a freshman. Like, he was a legit Power 5 guy as a freshman. You see the sophomore film and you're like, he's a legit national recruit. A lot of people haven't seen that film yet. When that gets out, you say he has a Tennessee offer now, just watch, he's going to blow up. There's no question about it.
Well, and when they do see it, you tell them where you found it. It was right here on BadgerBlitz
That's right.
TV with our man, Clint Cosgrove.
No, with the man, Matt Perkins, who breaks it all down and does all these highlights. People don't realize how much work you put into this. I have nothing to do with these clips, guys. He puts this all together. You're an absolute beast. You produce everything. And it makes my life very easy to come on here and just talk ball.
Awesome. Well, that's very kind of you to say, Clint. Well, thank you so much. We'll be back next week. Make sure to, as always, give us your questions in the Badgers Den. You can find Clint everywhere at @rivals_Clint on all the social media. I'm at _Perko_ on Twitter, and I'm on Believe in Badger podcast with Matt Bernstein. We got Alex Erickson on the podcast this week. So
you got all kinds of dudes coming on.
Yeah, we've got we've had a wild variety recently. It's been a lot of fun. I
love how you guys have no problem getting all these NFL guys on. All the NFL guys I talk to for my podcast, they're like, yeah, just hit me up, and then crickets. So
I gotta say, I was really excited. Alex reached out to us, was like, hey, can I come on? I was like, can you? Yeah, of course you can come on. Come on now.
You can't.
That was fun.
Hey, if you guys had me on, anybody with a Wisconsin connection can come on.
Oh, Clint, come on now. You're more Clint. You're family. You're family.
Well, I appreciate it. I feel like family.
You are. And on that note, we're gonna wrap it up for today. So make sure you just subscribe on YouTube to the BadgerBlitz YouTube page. Subscribe to BadgerBlitz.com and drop us your questions. And until next time, we will see you in the den.
We'll see you in the den.